Somebody had sent a photo into the group message, and then people just talking. Eggplant emoji, eggplant emoji.
So my girlfriend works in HR. I'm crazy on Twitter, and I have shit to talk about the wrestling community.
The whole sport? Are you talking about Olympics? Are you talking about NCAA?
I'm ready to sign, dude. So where's the petition for all of your rule changes?
Y'all want that stake money? Betr is the simplest way to play daily fantasy and win big on your favorite players. NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. There are 3 simple steps for playing Betr picks. 1, pick 2 or more players. 2, pick more or less. 3, win big. Use code BO and download Betr now.
Yeah, so welcome back to Nickels and Dimes. Today, obviously, we have a guest. Today, we are joined by a man who wrestled at The Ohio State University, who helped his team get the school's first national championship. Now he not figuratively, but literally jumps off cliffs. He is growing his brand Live No Tomorrow by performing daredevilish acts that will make your heart beat fast, and we are not sure if he walked off the plane or jumped out of it midair to get here. Welcome to Nickels and Dimes, fellow 2023 Betr Dodgeball champion, Johnni Dijulius.
That was really good.
That was good.
go.
This guy's done this before.
Thank you.
He's experienced.
Yeah. I do the production end of this thing.
Yeah,
I
do
make
you?
sure everyone's
He keeps everything together.
Thanks, Dad.
yeah, we keep everything together. But Johnny, I got to ask you about this, man. So how on earth does someone get into jumping off cliffs?
So I've never drank or smoked, right, in my life.
Yeah.
31 years old now, never tried alcohol. And not like, when I say that to people, people are like, oh, you think you're better than us? It's like, no, I think I'm way worse than you. That's why I don't drink, right? And a little bit of that is, my mom unfortunately passed away, but she had some problems with, alcohol when she was younger. And I was just like, you know what? I don't know if I need that, right? So when I was 18, my dad asked me, he's like, well, you're not going to go out with your buddies and go party or something, right? What could you do now that you're 18? Let's celebrate some way. So 5 days after my 18th birthday, my dad booked skydiving for me. Want us to know something weird, right? When I tell the story of me first going tandem skydiving, right? Tandem means you're strapped with somebody. And you guys went with Bryce, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
at
you
his
go?
bachelor party.
Okay. So weirdly, I don't know why. Like your mind will like fill in false details. Like when you think back on memories, like the fence might've been white, but in your head, your picture, it was like blue, like whatever, right? For some reason, my mom, I like know for a fact, like, oh yeah, I was with my buddy Tim. My dad was there. My mom was there. Wait, my mom died like 2 years earlier. Like, no, like, why am I picturing?
Wow.
Why is it? Fast forward, right? I'm skydiving for like 10 years now at this point. The owner of this drop zone, there's like 15 different drop zones in Ohio, maybe less, probably like 10. The owner of this drop zone comes to me and is like, hey, we're looking at our records. We searched your name, and do you know your mom did a tandem skydive here one time? And I'm like, yo, like,
That's
what? Yes. Like, I knew she did a tandem when I was really young. I didn't know where it was, and I forgot about it. But they showed me her jumpsuit because they still have it hanging. They rent them out to customers, and they still have it. And I was like, that's weird, right?
That's
like that
amazing.
might be a crazy coincidence, or you can go the whole other route with that. But it was cool. But long story short, started going tandem when I was 18. Which led to me wanting to get my license and go alone. It takes about 25 jumps. Did that. A few hundred jumps later, someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, New River Gorge Bridge, there's a thing called Bridge Day. 100,000 people go to watch. It's a 1,000-foot bridge. Do you want to jump off it? It's like a skydive. They said that. And it's a lot lower than a skydive, right? But you get one parachute. And I was like, oh, well, yeah. That's a very forgiving, safer kind of base jump because it's a bridge. It's not a building or a cliff. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right. That led to going lower and lower, which led to, do more solid objects where if you have an off heading, it's something hard behind you. Not a nice bridge you can circle out of, right? Yeah. So that led to more base jumping and, which is cool to kind of like put into your guys' perspective. I steal this from Kyle Snyder, actually, which is fun because he's really smart with a lot of the nuances on what I like when people say something that's very cliche and then they unwrap the cliche and they're like, hey, let's actually go into this real quick. Like, hey, you got to want it more than the other guy. That's very cliche. Everybody said that. Let's open this up and let's talk about why that's good, why that's bad, right? So one thing that I think that he talked to me about when he was at Ohio State that I equate to base jumping is you got to want it more, right? There's been times you lost to Miles your freshman year. Did Miles want it more? Like, no, you probably wanted it a lot, right? You just got caught in a shitty position in the first period, and it was really hard to dig out of the hole, right? It just happened where you lost some wrestling moves, right? Like that's it. Sometimes people break, I get it, but normally these generalities don't just encompass how we lost. You know? So Kyle was talking one time when we were having like a mindset type thing, and he said that he says a phrase to himself, and he treats, digging deep and finding it and will and wanting it. He treats that more as like muscle memory. So he says like protect nothing. I don't know if he's ever said this to you guys, but he talks about like protect nothing, protect nothing, protect nothing. And when he's at practice and, the dark place and it's ugly and he doesn't want to be here and everything hurts, he'll say to himself like out loud, like, okay, protect nothing. And then he'll consciously choose to like step forward or shoot or do something active. So by the time he's in a match and he's in that place and he says to himself or his coach says that, key word, it's almost like muscle memory. It's like, okay, my body only knows to do one thing after this, right? So do you guys know what I say before I jump?
3, 2, 1, see ya.
Yeah, I always say that, right? So I stood on a curb and I said 3, 2, 1, see ya. And I stepped off the curb and I pretended like I threw a parachute. I did it like 1,000 times. Now, when I'm on a building and like I'm overwhelmed with fear, I don't want to step forward. There's nothing in me that's like, this is a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, this is everything wrong with life. I should not be doing this. And then now it's time to go. It's like 3, 2, 1, see ya. Now I don't have to like will it and find it. You know what I mean? It's like my body only knows, it just starts going. It's like muscle memory at that point, and I go. And it's really cool when that like takes over, whether it's in wrestling or whether it's in base jump, or I do it in the shower. Like when I'm like, dude, I don't want to get out. I'm going to be cold. 3, 2, 1, see ya. You know what I mean? I just like,
I do the same thing when I'm about to jump in the cold shower.
Better
3, 2, 1.
just go.
Way better.
That's funny because that explanation is how I see confidence through preparation.
Okay, yeah, talk to me.
So like that's how I see it. Like when I'm getting ready for a big competition, my muscle memory, I know I can trust that because
you can rely on it.
I can rely on it because I've taken that chance every single day to where I've programmed my subconscious to not give up certain positions, to not take the easy way out, to continue to push further than I thought I could. And so those minute details and the little decisions that I make every day before that big decision, that big moment, I'm like, oh, I'm confident because I could think back and trust what I've done for the last 6 weeks. So that's like, that's where I see confidence through my preparation. It's not like
you don't have to be insecure. Like, did I do enough?
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
well, I think sure. To compound on that,
you wanted to say piggyback, but you already said piggyback. You can't use it too much, but it's a good word.
I'm glad you're paying attention.
Maybe too many piggybacks around here.
Yeah, too much. But anyways,
to couple that with
that's what I was gonna go next. But
to segue,
I felt like I hated the saying when people would talk about like, oh, treat this like you're in the finals of the state tournament or the nationals or whatever it is. Like you just treat it like another match. Like just treat it like another day. And that always bothered me because I was like, it's not. It's a big deal. And then I was like, okay, so how can I adjust that to still get the results of being relaxed and confident, wrestling free, but while at the same time understanding like this is a big deal. And I just decided to reverse it. So it's like, okay, why not treat like every day, every training session like a big deal? It's a big deal. Like what you're doing right now, that counts for what's going to happen, in the future. So right now is like all you got. You don't have, 6 weeks from now or 8 weeks from now or whatever, whenever you're competing. You just have now. So why not just take that mindset and make it align with your decisions that you're doing right now? Like, okay, if you're in the NCAA finals and you have your match is at 6 p.m. and it's 3 p.m., like, are you going to go eat McDonald's or like be crazy and like
done the same thing because it mattered every match?
Yeah. So like, no, I'm at the same, like my decisions now are going to align with that. Like, I think that's kind of, a lot of what Tony's saying is his mind's there right now. And that's what he's going through like the same kind of emotion and putting himself in that situation. So then when it comes down to it, he's already been there and he feels that he knows.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like, I don't like the phrase, oh, when it matters. Yeah. Because I do like thinking every match, this is the state title. This does matter.
Are you going to Olympic trials?
I'm planning on it, but I haven't gotten any tickets yet.
Have you heard of GameTime? Dude, GameTime is a fast, easy way to buy tickets. All sports, music, whatever, events that are near you, and they can hook it up.
Yeah, but like How do I know what my seats are eventually going to look like?
Well, the app actually shows you a 3D virtual view of what your seat is going to look like when you're at the game.
That does look dope, that 3D, like you can see exactly.
Yeah, it's nice. Like most venues, if you look, you can kind of see where you're going to be at, but you don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So that's big. But GameTime has deals on tickets right now, right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. And with zone deals, you pick the section and GameTime picks the seats for big time savings.
It's game time, baby.
Yes, sir. But in all seriousness, guys, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code Nickal for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Nickal, Nickal, for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
So do you guys know what the Arrival Fallacy is? It's cool. It's like I'm paraphrasing, right? I don't know verbatim the definition, but it's like, have you ever like won a big match or won, a state tournament or a national championship, and you're like, obviously you're fired up, right? So maybe not that example per se, but think about the same context, right? Like, oh, I thought I'd feel different. You know what I mean? For sure. Basically, if you're a piece of shit before you're a millionaire, you're probably the same piece of shit you are the day after you're a millionaire. It's like you're the same person. Like I texted Jake after his loss. It's like, you're the same Jake Paul the day before you fought Tommy,
right?
And the day after. Like it's less about the Arrival Fallacy says once we attain a goal, we'll achieve everlasting happiness, and chances are that's not going to happen because if you put all your on the outcome, right? That's not who you are. So what are you? Well, on my choices I made leading up to the preparation. So like Lou always said this too. He's like, don't take practice home with you. I don't know if you ever probably heard something along those lines, like your outcomes aren't your identity type thing. So I had a really bad time doing that. Like if me and Nate Tomasello would wrestle, if I was feeling really good, boom, I can get him a couple times a day. Oh, if he's feeling really good, he's going to get me today. And, if he beat me at practice, I would leave like, geez, and I'd be upset that I would take it home with me. Am I not as good? Is he getting better than me? It was very competitive in my head, right?
Right.
But if, I felt good, it's like, I was wrestling sick today. Got like 2 or 3 takedowns, feeling good. Like, and you almost beat your chest. But it's like the outcome doesn't really go home with me. Like what actually goes home with me? If me and Nate wrestle for 3 minutes and I shoot off the whistle and let's say I just sneak a takedown off the whistle, and the next 2.5 minutes, I thumb block, I back up, I do the fix my sock, I can't find my contact with 30 seconds left because I'm really tired. Like what actually goes home with me? I win 2-1, so what? What goes home with me is like, yo, you're not a risk taker. And when it gets really hard, you're going to find an easy way to stall. You know what I mean? That becomes a part of who I am. Yeah. Not the outcome. It's those choices. And then vice versa. If I shoot 1,500 times and I, get spun on, a lot of stuff goes home with me. I'm a risk taker. When I'm really tired, I go forward. There's so many things that become a part of my personality, on that end of the spectrum. So it's like, do outcomes matter? Of course they do. But if you treat every decision like it's the national tournament, I think that's a lot more powerful than just treating one World Series. You know what I mean? So like kind of going off what you said.
Like short and long term, kind of like, am I
this
going
matters.
to...
This choice matters right now. This matters a lot.
Definitely.
I wish I thought like this because I ate like shit. Like my biggest demon was probably my diet. I really struggled with my diet and it was a sugar addiction, which this is a big deal for me. I haven't had any carbonation in 2024. All January. I was carbonation free.
Like sodas?
Yeah, I liked energy drinks.
Oh, energy drinks. Nice.
Which I didn't really need.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You do like sparkling water or anything?
Dude, no carbonation. Because if I have, sparkling water, I'm going to be like, well, it's very similar to Diet Pepsi. Well, Diet Pepsi, you know what I mean? You're going to go down that route.
You have really good self-awareness to not drink or do drugs. That's a slippery slope. If that would transfer over to Diet Pepsi.
It wouldn't be weed. It would be crack.
Yeah.
Don't smoke crack, kids.
Going all in on it.
That's good.
I want to cut back to
this guy's prepared. I love it. Because I'm an off-script kind of guy. Right? If I have a podcast, I'm going off script. So I like this.
I want to reel back in about the outcome thing you were talking about and not being so worried about it. And in college, you kind of like let that go. I want to go back.
I struggle with it in college.
Yeah. But now you're kind of like you realized
for sure.
And I want to bring that back to high school. So you won 3 high school state championships in high school. And in 2008 against Ty Mitch, you've said that like that match kind of like haunts you a little bit.
Now, no, it doesn't haunt me nowadays, but like during high school, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like, was that kind of like a driving factor to your 3 other state champions and kind of like like I'm going to be better than this guy?
The easy answer is yeah, but I don't like using other people as like external motivators. I think it's good to like latch onto here and there. Like, oh, someone's training, they're training harder than me. So like once in a while you could do that. My guy, Dylan Palacio, he talks about this a lot. He says it a lot better than I do. Imagine like, and I don't know how you guys feel on this. I'm just saying for my own self, and maybe I'm wrong, but if, there was a fire pit in front of you and that like was metaphor for I'm fired up, I'm burnt out, like motivation, lighter fluid can only do this for a little bit. Right? It can never be your flame. So lighter fluid is an external motivator. Hey, someone's doing an extra rep. You better do an extra rep. In reality, like, what if that person died? Would you still do an extra rep? Should you still do an extra rep? Probably. So you can like latch on to like those external things for like a moment, but I don't think it should be everything you hang your motivation and inspiration on. So this is corny, but like loving what you do and finding ways to love wrestling, that's more internal. It's like these things can't be taken away from me. Oh, I only wrestle because my dad's here. He's watching. Well, what if dad hates wrestling? Should you still wrestle hard? Well, my girlfriend's in the stands. She's watching. Should you still wrestle hard if she's not here? Oh, this kid's going hard, at the high school next door to me. I better do an extra. What if he breaks his leg and is out for the season? Should you still do the extra rep? External motivators are really hard to live and die by. But internal motivators, I think, are a little bit more, they're immovable, right? So I like to think like, hey, I love wrestling. Oh, today's really hard. I don't know if I love wrestling. Okay, I'll latch on to an external today. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like how I like to think of it. So in high school, I'm sure I used it when I didn't know any better. I'm sure. But nowadays, I like to think I rely more on internal things because I have more of a sense of self and more of like an identity when I didn't have one. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like, I guess, how I say it, No, yeah,
I 100% agree. Yeah, the internal has to like be the foundation. You can get a little boost from an external motivator.
A lighter fluid will feel good.
Yeah,
once in a while.
Yeah.
A little energy drink.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. Would you ever skydive? Because you're the only one that has it, right?
Personally, yeah, I have a really big fear of heights, but
that's
I
what go ahead first and do it.
Yeah. It was like I was scared of cold water for like a really long time, and then I hopped in an ice bath with these guys, and I was like, all right, this sucks. But there's nothing to be scared
about
of.
Like wrestling wise, like a position that I feel like kids struggle in would be like stuck underneath on a front headlock, right? I loved being there because I had weird moves there, but a lot of kids don't like being stuck underneath on a front headlock. It's a very vulnerable position. So like I don't know, it comes like fear. What if a kid, instead of saying, oh, I suck here, he gets caught in a position at practice like, ooh, I suck here. You know what I mean? Like what if you got excited? Because it's like now I get to grow in that little puzzle solving position. Like that's kind of how I look at fear sometimes. It's like, oh, I hate cold water. Ooh, I hate cold water. Like what if we, and it will never be like that, drastic. But that'd be cool to like try to be like that with, with fears,
Yeah, see as opportunities for growth.
Yeah. And it's easy when I'm comfortable right now to say
it.
All of a sudden I get presented with some scary stuff. It's like, oh man.
I think that just, there's a lot of truth to that though, and how powerful the mind is, because you can really make agreements with yourself on certain aspects.
Little challenges, little games. Yeah.
Even if it's about yourself, about your own personality, like I'm this type of person, I'm that type of person. It's like, well, if you say it, then it's true. Mm-hmm. If I'm like, you could say, I'm very loyal. Like I'm a loyal person. Like then it's like you believe that about yourself, then it's gonna come true.
Bro, I do that as a coach.
Yeah.
If the kid's not that tough at practice, like I see that he could be, but like maybe like he struggled, whatever it is, right? I'll start like, dude, bro, you're a badass. Like, and then I'll like talk about it to the group. I'll be like, yo, every time little Mikey over here, every time he's in like a dogfight 50, he grits his teeth. And then like he almost has like a reputation to like uphold.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's hilarious. And I don't know if that's the right approach, but
no, it is.
I've had some times where it's like worked and stuff. It's cool.
Well, I think that
God, I'm catching every curse word right now. I'm not like if you knew in my head right now. Because I want to say, like, instead of stuff, every time I say stuff or freaking, you know what I want to say is shit and fuck.
I did the same thing when I started hanging out with these guys.
Yeah. I can't cuss. Ronan was a bad
I know, man.
It's awful.
I know. You're such good people.
What is it about cursing, like, that I feel like if there's somebody that doesn't curse, well, for us, it's not really noticeable that we don't. But when somebody does, it's very noticeable. Like, what is that about language that it's either like off-putting or not? Or it's like sometimes I guess if other people are cursing and then it's like more comfortable.
I was gonna say that. So whenever I'm like, I have a waiter or a waitress and it's too professional, I feel uncomfortable. So like, my dad works in customer service, which is funny because everything's like my pleasure, not no thank you, not no problem, because it should never be a problem. Like he's all that.
Yeah.
And he actually helped Chick-fil-A design my pleasure, which is pretty cool.
Really?
Like 20 years ago.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
So he has a bunch of, I'm like just advertising my dad right now. He has a bunch of books about customer service, and he works with a bunch of like big companies on revamping customer service. But long story short, if I'm like at a restaurant and the waitress is like too professional or waiter's too professional, and I can get them to like break character for a second and be like, like this one waiter one time, like, and again, like they have to feel comfortable because it's unprofessional, right? It's wrong. He like made a joke about, I want to go to the back and smoke a little bit. And like once he said that, I was like, okay, he's a human being.
Yeah.
He's not this like weird robot. And it made me feel, I don't smoke, but it made me feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like cursing for me sometimes feels like more emphasis on something. And language is just made up. We just make up stuff. So
Yeah, it's also who you're around too.
Right,
Like
yeah.
obviously, like my mom cusses like no one else.
Right.
Like that's just how she is. But like around these guys, I can't do anything. Can't be a bad kid. Can't have fun.
No, you can't have fun.
Well, that's the thing.
everything's,
That's where I feel like you don't really.
Do you watch rated R movies with these guys?
Because
No.
We have to be with him.
Cards Against Humanity PG version.
You know it, man.
Yeah.
I feel like it's weird when I don't want people to not curse or not do anything because they're around me, because like I'm comfortable with whatever people want to do. Even like
you're
you were
yourself.
saying, even if like that doesn't mean, I feel like when you're young, it's almost like a temptation to partake in whatever's going
it's
on.
bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
But
There's
I don't
forbidden
feel that
fruit.
at all.
Yeah.
I'm pretty cool with my choices, and
Yeah.
I feel good about it. But when I would rather other people, I'm fine if they don't want to curse around me. Like that's cool. But also I'm like, I don't really. It's all good.
Yeah.
There's also a stigma though with if you curse, you have less intelligence in the conversation, which I don't agree with totally. I think
I've
if
heard that. Yeah.
if I
Gary
if
Vee
I-
cusses so
exactly,
much.
yeah, people like that. And
Like,
he's smart. He's
He's definitely smart.
You want to know what? Just we're gonna segue into
let's
something
segue.
over here. You guys you said you might skydive, and these guys have. Would you ever do a tandem base jump? There is one guy in the country. Shout out to Sean Schuma. He took my girlfriend. So my girlfriend. This is when I like knew that she's the best person alive.
Yeah.
Period. Like bar none. I'm not a good person. I'm not a good boyfriend in my past. And we were on a road trip, me and her. And not with her, I'm saying with other people, right? With her, I'm the freaking best. And I'm the best ever.
Don't incriminate yourself.
And no, trust me, I am the best ever. And we were on a road trip, and she's the opposite of me.
Okay.
She works HR, right? And I'm fuck. And, I'm like saying, bro, I sent Betr a nude pic. Remember that?
You know about this?
Bro. All right, pause the girlfriend story. Just so yeah, you go ahead.
I'll lay the groundwork, and then you kind of come in and explain your side. So Betr starts a group message, and what's the basis of
Dodgeball.
It's the dodgeball group message. So we're gonna do a dodgeball tournament, and there's a group message, and it's like 30 people.
I don't have numbers saved.
I have at that point I have like 3 numbers saved. It
Me,
was like,
Jake, and Mike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's 27 other numbers in this group message that I don't even know who they are, and so I'm not like locked in on the group message. So basically, I got it a little after it happened.
But everybody's active.
Everybody's
Like,
active at the beginning.
It's open. It's it's one of those.
When the group message started, there was 15 messages right away, and so then all of a sudden I opened and I like saw it and I didn't really check it, and I looked back and now there's like 60 messages, and I'm like, what
like
is
a
going
minute.
on? And so I open it and I'm looking at, I scroll to the top and I read the bottom, and then there's like basically somebody had sent a photo into the group message that had been removed. And then people just talking, boom, 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 eggplant emoji, all kinds of stuff. Like, what the F, Johnny? What is that? What is going on? So I kind of do some inductive reasoning and realize that Johnny sent a nude picture into the group message. And I'm like, what just happened?
Hold on.
Dude, how do you confuse a single person doing
All right.
Yeah, so
60
now-
people?
All right.
It was unbelievable.
So I'm on the phone with my girlfriend Carly, who I live with, and I hate using the phrase girlfriend because she's so much more than like girlfriend. Girlfriend, like I tell kids I say wife, right? Like whatever. We made that word up too. Language is made up. She's my wife, right? I know there's a lot more. Like I know there's the ceremony. I get it.
You're good. You're
I
good.
get it. But I'm on the phone with Carly, and I just got out of the shower. She's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm coming home soon. I'm like, oh, I just got out of the shower. And she has the girliest, like cheetah furry slippers right by our bed.
Dope.
So just like, being like mindless, like, oh, I just got out of the shower and got your slippers on high, I'm naked. And she goes, no, you don't have my slippers on. Like, send me a picture. It's just you naked with your slippers. So I'm like, all right. And I go to take a picture and I go, did you get it? And she goes, no, I didn't get it yet. I go, and I look and it's to the group chat. But here's the thing. This is the worst part. And not to get like too much information, like furry slippers, face in it, soft. That's the worst part.
Mirror pic.
That's a mirror pic. And then, so within like probably
Mind
like
you,
3
in this group message, it's like half
there's
girls.
girls. Yeah. I unsend it, right? And like there was like 5 seconds where nobody said anything. First person to text back was Jake, right? And he just goes, what just happened? That's the only thing he said. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. There's 30 people in here. I don't know half of them.
Yeah.
Like,
it's rough.
and then like when you unsend it, it gives you like the update. Like certain people have not updated their phone, so they might still have the picture. And I'm like,
and mind you, also like we're all headed to the Betr warehouse in the next 2 days, to like see each other and do a dodgeball tournament.
It was
so
bad.
everybody's gonna be there.
30 people with severe blackmail on you.
Yeah. I'm sure it's still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend works in HR. So back to that. She works in HR. She's completely like different than me, opposite. She would never go on a roller coaster. It's like, why would I do that? Right? Like when we first started talking, I told her I was going go-karting. She goes, oh, that's your version of fun. And I'm like, okay. Right? Like just opposite. So we're on a road trip. We're passing the only legal bridge in the United States, which is in Idaho. If you guys have never been to Idaho, by the way, like Wyoming's beautiful. A lot of people like overdo Colorado, in my opinion. Montana's great, Glacier National Park. Idaho is like not visited at all.
People still live there?
It's so sick. I'm telling you, it's so sick.
Tony's been out of the tri-state area like 4 times.
Yeah, of course. He's a Jersey boy. Yeah. I'm telling you, like you'd like it because it's very Wyoming feels. Black bears and I don't think there's many grizzlies, but black bears and a lot of mountain lions, a lot of hunting, elk. Kiesa lives out there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think he's in Coeur d'Alene, which is up in the Panhandle.
Gotcha.
It's just a beautiful area. It's very Montana, but a lot less tourism. It's really cool. I'm at the only legal bridge in the United States. We're allowed to jump off it. Hundreds of base jumpers go there every single day. We jump there. It's our little hangout. I go, would you like to do a tandem? And she goes, no. And then she pauses. She goes, but I want to be closer to you and I want to understand you more. So yeah, I'll do it for that.
Wow. That's a big deal.
And I was like, wow, that's a really cool thing to say. Like that's like a guy, going to the ballet, like trying to like, and she's not in the ballet, but stereotypical guy to girl type thing is like, how can I make us closer? How can I understand you better and like the ways you tick? And I just think stepping out of your own selfish frame of reference is like really powerful. And she does that really well. So she did a tandem base jump, right? And at this point, I was kind of like segue into this. She hadn't said I love you yet, which is kind of, I had said it and she hadn't said it yet.
Wow.
And I'm standing on this freaking bridge, right? And like we're doing a 2-way, which means her and the tandem are gonna jump, and I'm gonna jump at the same time. And just to avoid like being open on the same level, if we have off headings, I'm gonna take a 2-second delay, and she takes a 1-second delay. That way, if we have 2 90s, right, we're not flying. Yeah, we're missing each other. So I'm like, oh, I gotta stick. I'm doing a gainer. I'm like, oh, I gotta stick this. Oh, my girlfriend is like, she's going like, oh no, and I've already said I love you, right? And then like a couple weeks have gone by. And we hadn't even like fully started dating, like kind of thing yet. It's like in that
pretty
area.
early.
It's very early, right? So I'm like shaking, and I'm not very nervous, but there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And then I hear like it's on my cameras, I love you, and I'm like, you motherfucker. But I actually got the audio, which
that's it.
So I got the audio. I'm like,
that's so cool.
It's cool.
So
It's a good one.
tattoos,
That's why it's more than girlfriend. That's why I hate saying the word girlfriend. It's like
Yeah.
you can't have a tattoo of your girlfriend. It has to be your wife. You know what I mean? Like, that don't count.
That's awesome.
I got my wife's tattoo.
And the jump went okay?
I'm here.
Okay.
She's here too.
What was her feelings about the jump?
I mean, it's very present.
Yeah,
It's like, when you're in a wrestling match, it's like there could be a fire in the stands and it's like, oh man, I'm tired right now. Like you're only thinking about where you're at. And that's why I love wrestling. Like it's very therapeutic. When I lost my mom when I was 16, like certain things I learned about from wrestling, I always have this one, I am the best plagiarizer in the world. Like I'm going to take everything you said today. I'm going to use that like, hey, it's not like, the state tournament does matter. So let's make every match. Like, I'm going to steal everything you guys say. I'm the best plagiarizer in the world. But one thing I do like to kind of, give myself credit that I talk about for myself that I've kind of let snowball in my own head was change why to what. So if you're in a wrestling match and you get thrown on your back in the first 10 seconds, right? You're down 5-0, 7-0 in college, whatever. Are you going to sit there and say, why did I do that move? Yeah. Why me? Why, God? Why? Why did bad things happen after good people, right? Are you going to sit there and look in the past? Probably not. It's probably not a good thing. If you change why to what, it's a little bit more progressive, maybe more like present word, where it's like, okay, what do I have to do to get back in this match? Okay, I got to get on bottom. I got to whatever. You lose somebody really close to you. There obviously is a mourning process, right? Why does this have to happen? Why, God, why? Why does bad things happen to good people? But why does keep you in the past a little bit. Easier said than done, but if I change it to what do I got to do to be there for my brothers? What do I got to do to, strengthen my relationship with this? That whatever it is, it's a little bit more forward thinking. So I like to steal those things from wrestling and I'm not even sure how I got into the topic of mi madre, but I like to steal those things from wrestling that really help with a lot of real life things,
Yeah, definitely. I like that. It's like the whole, we're just starting to read The Obstacle is the Way. I don't know if you ever read it.
No, what is it?
It's a book based on Stoicism, and it's basically just like using everything for your ultimate good, like seeing it as, and I see the why.
Yeah, life works for you type thing.
I see that as the changing the why to the what. Like,
cool.
You get hurt, and you're like, why did this happen? And you're just like sulking in that for indefinitely, as opposed
Potholes.
to
what's that?
Potholes. Yeah, remember Jake talked about pothole theory.
Yeah. As opposed to just like, okay, this happened.
You talked about it. Well, somebody talked about it. Sorry.
Like this happened. What can I learn from it? Put it into action, move forward. Yeah. It just like changes that mindset on it.
I think all your guys' parents still alive?
Yeah.
So I think a good thing for people listening is if you have friends that are young, right? People more my age now, it's more common to, I've lost my mom, I've lost my dad. But when I lost her at 16, right? So if you're listening and you're young and talking to people about their parents that have passed away or close relatives that have passed away, it keeps them alive. And it's really scary because they might cry at first because they're not used to talking about it. But in hindsight, being 10, 15 years past that, it's like, no, I want to talk about this person, right? Like, what's your favorite movie, if you don't mind me asking?
Godfather.
Okay, what's the first scene you think of? Horse, right? Like, what's the first thing you think of?
When
Luca Brasi.
When Michael, his eyes change.
He fucking would be the Godfather. That's hilarious. But yeah, okay, his eyes change. He becomes the Don Corleone, right? Like, he's the hit now, right? Why was your first thoughts not the end credits? That'd be stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you bring up my mom, you say your mom joke. You go, what do your parents do? It's plural. And I think of my mom, I don't need to think of the end credits of her life. My first thought could be, when Nemo touched the butt, or when they were with the I like Nemo, when they were with the sharks, when they were with the jellyfish. It doesn't have to be something at the end of the movie. I could think of when she took me to Disney World. I could think of, you know what I mean? So I think that that's a more positive way to go through it. Yeah. Now, is there times where you need to sit in the sadness, right? I like Pixar too. Have you seen Inside Out?
No, I've heard it's really good though.
It's good for kids because it's like, how do you process emotion? Like Stoicism, it's not I am anti-emotion. It's when and where I can get away with like handling these in a constructive way. It's like, there's a time and a place to be sad. You probably should lean into it. So is there a time and a place to be sad? Of course there is. I don't only have to be thinking about the good, but I don't know. I like to think of my mom's life, anybody's life, like a movie in that way where it's like, hey, I don't need your name, my name associated with cry right after. It's like, dude, smile like that. Crazy dude. He was crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Try to.
Yeah, I like that mindset a lot. I think it's definitely healthy. Not that it's a coping mechanism. It's more of an anti-coping mechanism. It's
for
like,
sure.
It's like how to actually, because I feel like people talk about coping mechanisms a lot and dealing with sadness or trauma and
suppressing
things like that.
It ends up.
Yeah, but it ends up just, you're not actually like at all getting to the root of it, or you're just putting a mask over the problem, right? Versus if you figure out an actual healthy way to wrap your mind around whatever that situation is, then and bring some positivity from it. That's such a better way to look at it.
Yeah, leaning into it for sure.
What were the now you brought it up, what were the biggest takeaways that you've gotten over the last 15 years from something so traumatic like that?
So why to what is big one. How you look at, losing someone, keeping them alive, stuff like that. When you're young too, everybody tells you like things about like adolescence and childhood trauma and PTSD and all that stuff. And just being young and idiots, we're all like, I'm different. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the older I get and the more I see like my brothers and stuff happen to young kids, you really do realize like how many things are important at a young age that like, yo, this person should not be doing this at this. You know what I mean? So like, I think the older I get, the more I've realized like certain things that come out. Like when I fight with my, significant other, or in the past relationships, things that I've done that maybe like everybody has this, don't argue, don't go to bed mad, right? But mine was like more of subconscious, like we can't go to bed mad. What if I don't see you tomorrow? What if you die? But I didn't realize those things were happening till you really investigate them. You know what I mean? So I would have like a really emotional, like, almost like hard to probably love reaction where I was super emotional in an argument where it's like, no, you can't walk out of this house right now, which can come off controlling. It can come off all different ways.
Got it.
And it's like, hold on. You know how people talk about like love language?
Yeah.
I feel like there's like fight language too, where it's like this person needs space. I don't need space. That's just not how I am. So learning to like unwrap these things and like how your childhood has really impacted a lot of triggers that you have and you don't realize it. And you just think, oh, this is how I am.
Yep.
No, it's not. You got stuff that you've gone through that have shaped you into this, good and bad.
Yeah. I like how that you're saying how like those two things kind of connect, like being in the present moment a lot with like base jumping and then
no tomorrow,
like,
baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And then just like taking every little experience, like I want this to be good. Like
right.
What happens next,
Right.
Like,
no, so yeah, like that's the thing. Like if I say like be present, if I'm like talking to a kid wrestling, that doesn't mean you can't learn from past losses. Great, you should. That doesn't mean you can't have goals for the future. Hey, I want to climb this mountain. That's good. What I mean more so is like if you want to get the best, this is what I mean, guys, right? This, I know you guys all do the knees and fingers and all. Like I know, like be present, right? Like you can't be the best version of yourself. You can't be the best Tony Cassar in this tie-up if your mind is already thinking about, am I going to win? Am I going to lose? Right? It's 7 minutes in the future. Be where you're at. Like that's more so what I'm talking about. So like when I'm in struggle situations, I feel like being present is one of the better places to be. Like I saw this, there's a song, and this more goes so live no tomorrow rather than wrestling, but enjoy the passage of time. And enjoy the passage of time, that to me is like my purpose. That doesn't mean pleasure seek and party and base jump and only do things that I like. Enjoy the passage of time could also mean be disciplined, because you're going to enjoy things more if you are disciplined. So living on tomorrow doesn't mean just be present and don't care about tomorrow. It means do things that you love today instead of putting things off to tomorrow. If you work at some dead-end job you hate and in 20 years you're going to regret not opening that yoga studio you've always had a passion for, fucking quit and open the yoga studio. You know what I mean? Like, get after it.
Yeah,
that's more so what it means. See the F word, add some oomph to it.
Yeah. I felt it. It's good.
I like that.
Definitely.
I want to take a step back here, and I had a question. It's kind of dumb, but I see like when you film these videos, like sometimes you have a cameraman, they go at the top, and then like sometimes you go with people, and then you jump.
On base jumps?
Yeah, on base jumps. Like, what do you do after you hit the ground? Like, do you wait for them?
Nice.
Or like touch the ground. Yeah. Like what happens?
Party till impact.
Like, how long do you have to wait? Like, do you climb back up the mountain? Like,
so I mean, it depends. So like, if it's an urban base jump. So first of all, people listening, base is an acronym. A lot of people don't know this. So skydiving is in a plane. You're jumping out of, not a plane, helicopter, even a hot air balloon. You're jumping out of, aircraft. Sorry, I was like blanking from a word. You're jumping out of an aircraft, right? So you have relative wind. If you jump in a car, let's say that it was a bus, right? You could jump in the bus and the bus is traveling 60 miles an hour. Why don't you fly to the back of the bus? Because you're also moving 60 miles an hour, right? So the second I exit the plane, I'm already moving through the air really fast, right? Inertia.
Right.
Back to school. Base jumping is off of a fixed object. Not only is it a fixed object, so you have to like speed up to terminal velocity, but it's a lot lower. Skydiving, you have 13,000 feet. Base stands for building, antenna, span, which is bridges, and earth, which is cliffs. So we're jumping off of one of these 4 fixed objects, and you don't have a lot of time, especially in an urban situation, to like a building. How many several 1,000-foot buildings are there? No. I've jumped off 200-foot buildings, right? You have to be open right away. There's power lines down your right. There's another building on your left. There's a fence over here. There's cars. There's security at the bottom. You got to get away from him. Like, there's so many things going on, right? It's like crazy. Big kid. It's like big kid ding dong ditch. That's what you feel like. There's so many things going on.
Life-threatening big ditch.
Right. Yeah. There's so many things going on that it's a lot different than skydiving. So when I get to the ground and I land, one, you want to make sure your people are okay. Like, it's a high consequence, extreme sport. Sport I use loosely, but there's a lot of nuance to it, right? But you want to make sure your people are okay. You're super stoked. You're high on stoke. You're super present. All that stuff that you felt after a big win is all there. I don't want to say and more, but just it's different, right? It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I just experienced that. Like, it is such a addicting drug, but also not in a bad way where it's like, oh, I need it, right? It's not like that. But the second thing is like, getaway car at the bottom if it's urban. You have to stage a car, right? And there's a freeway right there. Boom, good, go.
Wow, that's crazy.
You're going to get trespassing. It's not the end of the world. But, it's a felony.
Ideally not.
It's ideally not. It's a felony in Yosemite if you do like LCAP.
Really?
And people do it, but yeah, it's a felony.
LCAP's high, right?
LCAP's 3,000 feet, bro. That's a terminal jump.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have like another round of adrenaline once you land.
So like if I do like a jump in like Moab, Utah, right? Which is a state. Utah's a state, right? And if I do a jump in like Moab, it's like, 500-foot cliff. You might get like a 2-second delay. And a lot of people think like the closer you are to the ground, the scarier it is. It's actually kind of the opposite sometimes. So
really?
Yeah. So if I take a delay, like pretend this is the cliff. If I take a delay and it's 2 seconds, I'm only X amount of feet away from the cliff. So if I have a 180,
not good.
Less reaction time to turn.
You have to walk us through this after you're done.
I know.
That was the craziest video I've seen
know.
in my entire life.
So if I took a longer delay in that video, I probably would be like a second or two farther away from the cliff, closer to the ground.
Okay.
Right, but farther away. So if I have a 180, I'll probably have more time to turn it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why these terminal jumps, there's a lot more that can go wrong because you're going closer to the ground.
What do you mean when you say terminal jump?
Terminal velocity. So it takes about 12 seconds to get to true terminal. So negative 9.8 meters per second squared, right? So if I jump off a cliff, you're only falling like
you're saying terminal as in you're not going to be falling any faster.
Correct. Yeah. So if you jump off a cliff in like Moab, 200 feet, it takes 2 seconds.
You're not even close.
Speeding up,
you're
right?
Speeding up,
yeah. If you have like a 20-second cliff, it's like, LCAP, by 10, 12 seconds, you're falling. Like the difference between like 500-600 feet is like a second. You know what I mean? Like you're falling very fast, right? So you're speeding up to that. So those are great jumps because you feel like you're flying, right? But also, the low jumps are fun because it's like you get more ground rush.
Right there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but the cliff strike.
Yeah, let me pull up this video.
Remember that? I'm like, how are you?
Yeah. Cut to cliff strike.
Dude, I thought you were like banged up bad from that.
I jumped the next day. I had to. I had to because like mentally, like
yeah.
You know what I mean? You ever came off a loss and you're like, oh man, like my stuff wasn't firing. Yeah.
Did you seen this? Yeah. This is insane, bro.
This one right here.
Of course, this one has the most views.
3, 2, 1, see ya.
Not good.
I said I'm good, not okay. So look how shredded my parachute is.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm losing a lot of altitude. And fast, and there's all these chimney rocks. I can't fly out of this talus. I said I shredded my effing canopy. So I knew I was gonna hit.
Shit.
And then I hung there for about 45 minutes.
45
Yeah, so I'll get that. Self-rescue, I'll talk about that. So.
All right, so first off, let's go about this. What was the mindset when you turned around and
I saw a cliff.
all you see is rock?
So we've worked on this like as base jumpers, like technique, right? It's supposed to be muscle memory to, instead of going to your toggles, grab these, it's called your rear risers. So you have two things coming off your shoulders, your front risers, which have all your lines for your front end of your canopy, and your rear risers, which have all the lines to the back and your control lines. So I should have grabbed my rear risers, which has a more like stalled out, like flat, fast turn, right?
Okay.
Not flat turn, I shouldn't have said that, but like a faster turn. Toggles is more of like a longer turn, which you could also speed yourself up into the cliff. I went toggles first and kind of like try to flare, which means slow myself down into the cliff. So maybe if I would have went rears,
You could have spun.
I could have spun it off, right? But you only have like a second and a half. You know, I had a buddy, have a 180 on a cliff striking. He died, right? Like 3 months, 4 months after mine, right? It was pretty close after. So cliff striking's no joke. First thing I'm thinking, okay, probably gonna hit this cliff. Let your ankle break. Don't let your head get hit. If your ankle's broke, you can still fight off something.
Protect your head.
Right? If my head is hit and I'm unconscious, I'm hitting everything on the way down, right? Like at least like ankle, that's 6 weeks. You could figure that out, right? So boom, freaking, I don't know if you play it back, watch it again. Yeah. I go limp knee. Like I literally in wrestling. Bent, weird, I like stanky leg it, right? I kick off. And then I go, when I said I'm good, if you hear it, I go, I'm good. It's because I knew I didn't break my leg. I go, boom, I'm good. And I'm kicking. And it felt like 20 minutes. It was like 2 seconds. Okay, turn off, boom. And I turn off. And then I was like, okay, can I make it out? Everything was very present, right? It was like very hyper present. I was like, can I make it out? Probably not. I'm going to get hung up. It's better to get hung up than it is to, and I didn't try to get hung up, right? But it's better to get hung up than it is to like hit a bunch of stuff and ping pong down.
Right.
So I wasn't even trying to fly it because I thought if I pulled one of my toggles, it would just collapse. Yeah. That was my biggest fear, right?
You just drop out.
And I just dropped like probably 300 feet, right? So boom, hit the second cliff, got hung up. Pause for a second. I want to say base jumping has a bad stigma. A lot of base jumpers were mad at me for this video. I got kind of canceled from the base community for this.
Right.
Because it's giving base a bad look. They want one day base to be more like, paragliding or rock climbing. Like, why can Alex Hano climb El Cap, but we can't jump off it? Right? Like, it would be illegal technically if he wore a parachute and climbed El Cap. It'd technically be illegal.
Really?
Yeah, because if it saved his life, he can't
safer.
do it. Right? Like, yeah, almost. You know what I mean? Like, at least you have something.
Like, imagine you're halfway up and like you just drop.
My arms are tired. Yeah.
Well, I've seen guys do that. Like
Dean Potter did.
Yeah. He climbs down and he's like, frick, and then just goes. And I'm like, oh, that guy's done.
And he popped it. Yeah. So it's like, it's almost like that Joe Rogan drug type, argument. Like, if you can't regulate it, is it better to if you can't stop it, is it better to regulate it? Like, should you legalize it, decriminalize drugs, or should you keep it? Like, it's almost one of those topics. Right, if you can't stop us base jumping, should you at least like open El Cap for, certain times of the year on good weather days on this, on that? Like, if you can't stop it, like Dean Potter, the same guy, did a wingsuit base jump off El Cap in the cover at night because he didn't want to get caught by park rangers because it was at night. Unfortunately, he went in, right? Went in means the bad thing, right? So it's like certain things increase the risk that maybe don't have to increase risk, Right. So back to that, I don't want to like make base jumping look bad.
Right.
I'm a white belt in base jumping, right? Like, I'm not like some black belt awesome base jumper, but I sell and market like a black belt. I'm a lot better at telling a story than a lot of base jumpers are weird.
They don't want to. They're like,
they're more purists for sure, and they also they don't know how to talk. A lot of guys don't know how to talk. People don't know how to talk in general. So I tell these stories. They're fun. They're exciting. People buy in, and then they think I'm Tony Hawk, and I'm like, no,
right?
I'm not.
Gotcha.
And then base jumpers get mad at me, and they're like, you are like the representing our sport now because you have more followers than and I'm like, hold on. I'm not representing the sport. I don't want to put it in a bad light, but this is...
You're being real.
This is what happens in base jumping sometimes. You have to know it's not all flips, kids. It's not all flips and high fives.
Yeah.
It is it's as real as it gets. Your life, you are risking your life, and it is selfish. There is no question. I am selfish to my dad. I'm selfish to my girlfriend. It is a selfish thing to do, to worry them, right? Now, on the other end of that argument, would I be fully Johnni Dijulius in my relationship if I wasn't living my full? I don't know, right? So I like to, at least like have that, to make me feel better about my guilt, right? But there's definitely that side of it. Right. So I hit the cliff, second time, I'm hung up, and I'm like, okay, my lines are holding me for a second.
So what's the situation when you're hung up? Like, how far are you from the ground?
So I'm about 50 feet off, right? And it's sandstone. So I'm trying to like climb, and all this like shit is just falling, right? So I'm like, okay, I better like wedge myself in here in case this parachute rips completely.
Yeah.
So there's like a little like wedge where I literally could like sit on, and I felt good. And I was like, okay, so I actually ungear, like I can completely ungear, and I'm sitting on this ledge, and I had service. I had one bar. I call my buddy, and I have video of this because my camera's playing, and I'm like, yo, and he goes, dude. And I'm like, dude. It's hilarious. It's the funniest phone call ever. He goes, you good? I'm like, I'm good. And he goes, that was crazy. And I was like, that was nuts. Like, we're just having this biggest surfer bro, like, talk. It's horrible. And his name's John Levon. So he goes, do you need rescue? And I'm like, no, but I definitely need you guys to come up here because I'm going to try and climb down like 50 feet. If I fall, I'm going to break my leg. Like, I need somebody up here, right? So they hike up. It takes like 45 minutes to an hour to get up. And my buddy
And they're
David.
like, they're below you.
It's one guy makes it. It was a compromise position. It was like a shit. Like, it's not a hiking trail. It's like cactus and rocks.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
a terrible, for any hiker, it's a bad hike. So one guy gets to me, David, and I'm climbing down. And I get to this part where this like thing that I'm wedged in on, like, I'm using my back and I'm against the wall, You know who climbs on is Robbie Howard. He does a lot of bouldering.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at it. I like that he's into that. It's cool.
Yeah, they do.
Him and Shane. Yeah, Shane does it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm getting down, and this gap that I'm like, pushing against of goes like this at the bottom. It gets really wide. So I'm not gonna be able to like push against the other wall to like pry myself. So like the last 10 feet, like
You're gonna have to.
I'm gonna kind of have to jump. And there's like a bush at the bottom. And my buddy David, I still have my helmet on, and my buddy David goes, dude, just land on your back. And I'm like, all right, shit. Like, if I don't get hurt on base jump and I get hurt on this, I'm gonna be so pissed. Boom, land on my back, right? I FaceTime Bryce wedged in there, by the way. And I'm like, I had a 180. And he knows like everything about it. He's like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, because I slept at his house that night and I packed at his house. He's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, dude, I did. And then he's like, dude. I was like, I know. So I get off, and then, I'm like, okay, a lot of adrenaline right now. Ankle probably is broke. I'm going to walk on it to hike out, but we'll see in like an hour how I feel. And I was sore, but I felt okay. And I probably shouldn't jump the next day, but I was like, if I don't, I'll never jump again. And I do love base jumping. I do. And I learned a lot. Like, we have this thing called a BFL, a base fatality list. And about probably less than 20 people worldwide die a year base jumping from base-related, obviously, things. Whether it's, user error where, like, there's a bad routing in a pack job or certain things. Maybe it's weather-related. Maybe it's just completely uncontrollable and just very, terrible decision-making. All these things happen, right? About 20 happen a year, and we learn a lot from it. And it's like, how can you stack the odds in your favor? So I want you to picture base jumping as like this. If the four of us are going to rob a bank,
Let's do it.
I'm so down. What a run. Have you guys ever wanted to pull a fire alarm? I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
That's such a, like, you know what I mean?
You just gotta watch out for the ink. Shoots ink.
Good point. Good point. See, this guy, he knows. Gloves.
How would you know?
Yeah, right. So I want you to picture, if we're going to rob a bank and the three of you go in, right? We're in the movie Heat right now, okay?
Dope movie.
Why would you
Dope movie.
Oh, Heat?
Heat, yeah.
Okay.
What'd you think I said?
For some reason, I thought you were talking about the Heat with
the Sandra Bullock and the Melissa McCarthy. Come on, man, they're cool too. It's a terrible movie. Heat with
Denzel, right?
with the guy, by the way. I can't speak too much on it, but the movie, right?
Yeah.
The director edited Heat.
Really?
Pretty cool, right?
That's sick.
He won an Oscar actually for Argo and for Zero Dark 30 too. He's big.
wow.
He's a big editor.
That's
first
sick.
time directing.
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna play this at some point. We'll show it off. Yeah. Okay, so we're robbing a bank. You guys run out with $1 million and you're hyped up. You just held a gun in somebody's face. You're like, oh my God, this is great. We get in the car and you're like, go, Johnny, go. And I go, put your seatbelt on. It's like, why would you say? That's how base jumpers think though.
Right,
They literally,
yeah.
It's not this roller coaster. It's if I'm gonna risk, let's risk the most responsible way possible. How can every little thing be taken care of that I can control? Which goes back to wrestling. Control the controllables. What should you put your value and your focus on? And it really has I love that wrestling is such an echo chamber for all these, what do you value with your job? Financially, if you're going to have hobbies like base jumping, whatever. There's so many there's so many good, parables from wrestling. And I love that about wrestling. And we're biased. It's the freaking best parables. Lacrosse doesn't have as good of parables as us. We have the best ones. But yeah, that's how base jumping is. They really stack the odds in their favor in a good way.
You have to, bro.
So did you jump the same spot the next day?
No, I haven't jumped the ramp again. The exit point's called the ramp.
So what was the reason that it went wrong?
Two things. So I think my pack job was a little crappy. It wasn't bad weather. So canopies like to open into the wind. So if you have a crosswind, you'll have a 90.
Yeah.
I had pretty good wet weather that day, but think of everything. It has to be symmetrical, right? So if you reach back to touch your parachute to pull, and it's all so I just reach like this, and you can see shoulders dip, which causes off headings, and couple that with some bad pack jobs, just stuff happens. So yeah, totally my fault, user error.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, I had a 180 a year later on an antenna, and rear riser turn. perfect money.
Good experience.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. You probably, did you feel more calm the second time?
More confidence.
More confidence. Yeah, definitely.
Dad's over here freaking, he's like, we need to stick to the script. What is it?
Like,
What is it?
I wrote all these notes for no reason.
Because I have notes too, and I have shit to talk about the wrestling community. I have a lot
we
of
gotta
shit.
talk.
Yeah.
I have a lot.
We haven't even talked about Penn State against Ohio State.
None of that. We'll talk about
We'll
that
talk
later.
about the upset's going to
Let's
happen.
talk about-
All right, it's okay.
Let's talk about the freaking what
Okay.
you got.
Wrestling community.
Yeah.
I'm going to sound like a pessimist. I'm a pretty positive person. If you've listened to this whole podcast, I'm a pretty optimistic. I think all four of us are delusionally optimistic, right? Like, I'm going to make the UFC one day and be on Joe Rogan. Nobody thinks that. You made it happen. I'm going to fight, nobody thinks I'm going to win nationals after being one-time state champ in high school. Like, that's a hard thing. You did that. And you are just freaking working with all these brands, Betr, all these, $100 million companies. Boom. We're probably delusionally optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm going to be negative Nancy for a second. I think wrestling has... I think they should be in crisis mode a little bit with marketability.
Are you talking about the whole sport? Are you talking about Olympics? Are you talking about NCAA?
I think there's things that I love about traditions in wrestling, so I don't want to take those away. So it's a tough conversation to have, like with nuance.
Right.
But a lot of things, because of these traditions, keep us archaic and hold us back. There is a reason in the past 12 years, we have gone down in NCAA viewership every single year. And you could say streaming. Okay, people don't have cable anymore. But it was 800,000 when David and Kyle wrestled. 800,000 viewers, NCAA finals. It was 400,000 the past like 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Half difference.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way you can watch NCAA wrestling is through cable. You can't watch it on streaming. So people are going to make it happen if they want to see the nationals, right? So... And it's not like 800,000, 400,000, 800,000 again. It's like 800,000, 600,000, 5, 6, 5, 4, 5, 4, 4. It's like that, right? It's just stair stepping down. So why is that? Well, let's get to it. The first thing, and this isn't going to I'm not the, smartest person in wrestling, people listening. I don't have the secret recipe. I'm just a guy with a mic spitballing and just starting conversation, right? If you argue with me, that's a good thing. Let's argue. Let's figure things out. Challenge me. It's, I'm not good in short offense, right? I'm not good here either. Let's talk, right? So the first one, I think, let's get rid of the headgear. It doesn't have to be like a mandatory get rid of. I just think it's optional. Like, let's make it your choice.
Why do you feel like that is a big deal? Important enough to change?
I don't think it's going to make the sport any more appealing or less appealing. But I think that why not give the kids choice to wear headgear or not wear headgear? I think, in my opinion, this is preference and totally arbitrary. I think it looks cool at the senior level without headgear.
Yeah.
Right? And I do think if we're going to have cauliflower here, if that's going to be something in our sport, that's our trophies, wear it proud.
Right.
I like that about us. So those traditions we're keeping in a sense. But also, if you're somebody newer to the sport and your parents are more like, I will never let my kid, you can wear it. It is totally optional. It's just not like, why do we need to regulate it? It's not a big safety thing. It's not like a seatbelt. Like, mandate a seatbelt. That's fine. Why mandate headgear? Are you really keeping people more safe? No. Like, it's my choice.
Doesn't
if I want
protect
my
anything.
Right, yeah.
All
right,
nobody wears it in practice.
Nobody wears exactly.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
Right. Number 2. This one is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. So although I said no mandate on headgear, there is something with the uniform I do want to mandate, and nobody's going to like this. I like singlets more than two-piece. I'm going to say it again. I like singlets more. I think we should go against what we like. I think we should mandate a two-piece.
For the mainstream?
Why? Here's why. There's a couple reasons. So the first one, and nobody's going to agree with me on this, and this is okay. Wrestling has a very homophobic narrative. It just does. How many times have you guys all been, you roll around with dudes in tights?
Yeah.
That's just
make fun of them once a week for it.
I make fun of myself once a week for it, right? That's just something that happens, right? So, jiu-jitsu is probably more like compromised positions, right? Full guard.
Jiu-jitsu gets it a little bit, but not as much.
But not as much. I think the fight shorts and compression top is a classic look. I think it's a good look. And the reason a lot of people will combat this, they'll say, we gave our kids the option and they all chose singlets.
It's like, you can't give them the option.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They're going to choose singlets.
They're going to choose singlets because it's mainstream right now in the wrestling world. Have you ever seen videos of smoking ads in the 60s?
Right.
And what do we think now? Like, I can't believe they had advertisements back then.
Right.
If you look at people talking, they say, I can't believe they want to tell us what to do with our bodies. I think in 20 years, if we mandated two pieces, my theory is there will be kids 20 years from now, like, can you believe they used to wear those things?
Yeah.
That's my prediction. They would say that. So number one, it would not take away the homophobic narrative totally, but I think it would be less of a barrier for kids to be like, hey, I don't look at wrestling a sexualized way. It's a fight. And I'm not looking at it as this weird thing because I don't want people to sexualize my sport. You know, there's nothing wrong with being who you want to be. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't want my sport.
It's a sport.
It's a sport.
Yeah.
It's not a relationship. It's a sport, right? I want that said, right? Now, with that being said, I think there's barriers to certain kids starting. The second thing people will say is, I think you're going to say this. I don't know if you're going to say this, but if you're not tough enough to wear single, you're not tough enough to wrestle. I don't like that defense either.
That is something you'd say.
I don't like that defense either because I also don't just want people.
No, that just is lame. That's like
it's a lame one because if you're not tough enough to get punched in the face, then you can't watch MMA. No, I want everybody to be a fan of MMA, even if they aren't tough enough to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
I want you to be a fan of wrestling, even if you're not tough enough to put a singlet on and be half naked. Like, hey, if you like that, that's what I think.
It's like the kind of like the real men wear pink.
Yeah, type thing.
But
right.
it's like, well,
Or
it doesn't
just-
really matter. It's a color.
Yeah, it's just that we made that up. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right. So, and you guys could disagree on all these, but let me get these out before I forget them, right? So, and I would love some, because if we battle on these, it's good for wrestling because we'll like come up with new ideas. This one, I think people would agree with. College World Series has one location. It's always in Omaha. And I think that that's tradition in baseball. Kind of like, hey, every Memorial Day we go to the lake house. People love that, right? I think keep it in a neutral area, drivable for 90% of Midwest, where majority of wrestling is, and Big Ten schools, which majority of fans come from. St. Louis is a great area, but it doesn't have to be St. Louis. I think keep it the same place every year. I think it becomes tradition. Hey, the second weekend, third weekend of March, or whenever there's another thing to that I want to have it in April, but we'll get there. I think, it's third weekend in March. We always go to St. Louis. I think that's a great, tradition to have. Like, we always have it at the same place. I don't know why. I just think that instead of hopping around all the time and trying to like open wrestling to, hey, we're going to have it in Kansas City and then Tulsa and then we're going to have it on the West Coast and then New York City. It's like people spend so much money and wrestling is a poor sport. We don't have a lot of money. Let's keep it in the same place. They can plan ahead of time. It's an easy city to walk around, right? It has good bars with the ballpark for fans to be at, and it's just an easy city.
Yeah.
So I think one place every year is a good idea. College World Series does it so well. They do it so well. And it's such fun tradition for we're going to Omaha. We go there every June for the College World Series. I bring my kids. That's a fun time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For fans, right? So it's less about what wrestlers want and it's more about what's better for the fans. Baseball players don't want a pitch clock. It's better for the fans. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't care what you baseball players want. This is good for the fans. Now, I do want the people like Kyle and David speak, because they do have the athletes, like how they speak up for athletes. I do still want that. That's important. But let's cater a little bit to our marketability. Third thing, one semester sport. One semester sport because our marketability is really bad. We are the only sport that cannot promote, number one, matchups ahead of time, because most nationals is different, but most tournaments, you don't get the bracket till the day of. So we have really bad marketability, right? Someone said on Twitter, we are like the best Broadway show, only selling to our friends and family, which is kind of true, right? Mm-hmm. So we have really bad marketability, and we compete directly with March Madness. Why don't we start in January, go for 4 months, end mid-April, which is still the same, maybe even shorter of a season. Keep it the same, whatever. I don't care about the length. But January to April, one semester sport, and our national tournament is a week or 2 weeks after the NCAA tournament. For basketball.
Right.
I don't understand why we would compete with that. Not only that, when is the Pennsylvania and Ohio State wrestling tournaments? The second and first weekend of March.
Right.
You want dads who spent money to go to Pennsylvania and Ohio, who spent money to maybe even try to fit in a conference tournament, to now spend more money 4 weeks in a row when they have Reno and Tulsa and Tournament of Champions a week after that. You want all of that. Like, you are limiting 90% of our fan base. 90% of our fan base is in season during our Big Ten tournament.
Right.
I remember our Big Ten tournament was going on at Ohio State when, I don't know if you guys were in college yet. It was at Ohio State, was going on during the Ohio State tournament. It was the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Why would you have that on the same day? right? And then the junior high state tournament the following year was the same weekend of NCAAs. Why would you have that in Ohio on the same? And sure, you could blame like some tournament organizers, but it's like, dude, they don't have it. They have. These guys are not getting paid that much, right? It's like, let's one semester sport. It makes more sense. Now here's the big one. You ready for this one? If Ohio State were to upset Penn State magically which I know it's unlikely, but if they upset Penn State tonight, what does it matter? What good does it do tonight?
Nothing.
0. If you lose a UFC fight, does it matter you trying to get a belt?
If I lose, like
not to you, it doesn't matter to you. I know like you value certain things correctly. I'm saying, does every fight matter the same way every college football game matters for them getting into the playoffs? The same way every NFL game matters.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason for your regular season before your belt fights.
Right.
There's a reason for the regular. There's no reason. For our regular season.
If that's the thing, if you're a 500 wrestler, you make the NCAA tournament.
Right. It does, like we're basically just doing exhibitions.
If your team's dual champions,
who cares?
That doesn't matter.
Right. So this is very extreme. Like here's my perfect season that we can make the regular season matter. I don't want to eliminate the NCAA individual tournament. That's the best tournament. It's the best display of wrestling. It's awesome. And it's so well ran. And the finals is so cool. It's great. Which, by the way, I got to run out of the finals twice in the movie.
Really? Oh, that's dope.
And I freaking almost cried. Yeah, I hated it. And I was wearing the wrong colors. So here's my perfect season. 16 duels. They start in January. You have 2 a weekend. And it goes till, that have to be 8 weeks, right? And obviously, you have to fit in like an off weekend here and there. So whatever it is. Let's pretend you went every weekend, 2 a weekend for 8 weeks. And you're at the end of February right now, right? Bye weeks are important, obviously, and off weekends.
Right.
But 1, we miss the holidays, which I think is great for wrestling. And 2, it's only duels. January to February, only duels. You have some type of RPI that puts you into a national duel tournament. You have a national duel champion the second weekend of March, right? 2 weeks after that, you give a 2-week break. You have the individual conference championship. 2 weeks after that, second week of April, you have a individual NCAA tournament. I think that is a great season, which means there are no more Midlands or Vegases or Southern Scuffles. So you take away tournaments. But as wrestlers, I love tournaments. As a fan, nobody wants to sit and eat out of a cooler for 14 hours. Right. Nobody wants to do that. No. It's just not good for the sport, right? So that's my whole theory on it. Now, what do you do with red shirts? And what do you do with backups? They won't get matches if it's only a dual season. So there is the open tournaments. Like you can have red shirts and backups because then that's good for fundraising for smaller schools. Hey, Cleveland State needs an open tournament. Hey, we're going to fundraise red shirts and backups and come here. That's good for them.
So how do you say to a kid or a team, do you just tell them no starters at this open tournament? Like that's
that's something that we would have to work out. I don't know. Right. I don't know if that's a rule. Like,
because what if like they're like
a kid is injured and needs to get matches? There's a lot of,
or even if they're just like, you know what? I don't think the conference and the nationals is. I need one more tournament to be prepared.
Right.
We're gonna sub all our backups in for this duel and send our starters.
Maybe, and I don't like this, but I'm just spitballing out loud. Maybe give like a match cap. Maybe I don't know. I know high school, certain states have. I
agree with you though
caps.
that duels
need to match
are so much
somehow.
More entertaining. They're so much more entertaining than
best.
a tournament.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine a duel? Did you watch? I mean, do you keep in follow up with college wrestling right now?
Yeah.
Did you watch Cornell and Ohio State and then Ohio State, Michigan? Mm-hmm. They both came down to Feldman. It's great.
It's exciting.
It's awesome. And you know,
duels are so much more fun overall as an event. The NCAA
rally behind it.
The NCAA tournament's fun because there's 30,000 people there and it's for the NCAA championship.
Right. It's for the NCAA, so that's going to be fun no matter what. And you have a lot of like very prideful people like, oh, Minnesota, we love Minnesota. We're going to be here. Like it's all
they want to represent their university. Like it's a whole thing.
So the duels matter for the national team duel tournament.
Yes. So like if you lose, if like Ohio State loses to Penn State in this duel tonight, that's going to matter for maybe us qualifying for the duel tournament, for the seeding, all that. It's going to, everything matters. You know, maybe 16 teams make it, 12 teams make it with a couple buys, and whatever it is.
Hyping up because right now,
now we can market it. Then we can market
tournament.
it. Yes. It'd be great marketability.
The only thing that I don't like is I don't think that there needs to be 2 national champions in the year.
Like a dual one and then an individual one?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about an individual team national title.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you on a lot of what you're saying, and I don't even think you're really disagreeing with the point I'm trying to make right now. I just feel like I think that it should be as little confusion as possible
who the champ is
on who is the best.
Other fans. That's a good point.
And I think that's
a good point.
So maybe it's the dual champion, but then there's no team score.
Do not score it. Yeah.
No team score for individuals because.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like
two team champs.
But there's still
Agreed.
even if you do that, there's still 2 championships. There's an NCAA dual championships and an NCAA individual championships, which I think, I don't know, is that if you're, it makes sense to us. We're like, oh, well, because we're used to duals and individuals.
Is that confusing?
But what about a person that's never seen wrestling before?
Right. So that's what I was going to say, my last thing too. I have a theory, and I actually texted Flo, and they didn't reply to me. Flo, you didn't freaking reply to me. All right, piss me off. I defend them a lot, and they didn't reply. But I said, I have a social experiment. 2 things I want to do. The first one, I want to find 6 to 10 people off the street, and I want to take them to a NCAA Big Ten Division I duel, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Penn State, Okie State, Iowa. I want to take them to a duel, and I want them to be all different, backgrounds, all different cultures, all never seen wrestling before, and I want to tell them zero, and I want them to experience the atmosphere, and I want to say after the duel, I want to say, what did you think? And I bet you majority say, I never realized wrestling was so fun. I didn't know what to expect. Because what a lot of people argue with me is they say, why are we trying to market wrestling? It's a niche sport. I hate when people say it's a niche sport. No, it's not. It is a badass sport. When you're a kid,
fighting was a niche sport in 1995.
Right. When you're a kid, before you ever stepped on the mat, what did you do with your brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
You wrestled each other. When frat guys are at the beach in Hilton Head, what are they doing in the ocean? They're throwing each other around and wrestling. It's very innate,
That's what
right?
we do. That's correct.
Yeah, it's very innate at Belmar, right? It's very innate.
That's my spot.
It's very innate to wrestle. So if you bring people and you show them this is badass, I don't think it's a niche sport. I think people, if they were able to understand the rules easier, which that's a whole different topic. I don't know how to do that. If you gave them a chance to see it and put it on their radar, I don't think it's a niche sport. I think people would like it. So that's my first experiment. And wait for it. My second one is I want to be proven wrong. I want to ask people, what do you think looks better? And I want to show them 2 jiu-jitsu guys wrestling in 2-piece and singlet. And I just want to go to New York City and just interview 100 people and see what the percent. That'd be a cool little control experiment to ask a survey.
Yeah. I will say that as someone, I'm a very good person to understand this.
Ronna doesn't know anything.
I don't know anything. My first wrestling match experience was last year.
No way.
So
I always thought you wrestled in high school or something. Okay.
No, not at all.
Oh, cool. This is good. This is good.
I thought it was really, because I had that same perspective. I don't understand the rules, and this wrestling's a stupid sport. It's really homo, 2 guys rolling around.
Right. Yeah, that's what people think.
But when you go and see it, it's very barbaric. 2 guys are
but it's respect too.
Yeah. They're trying to. It's just like fighting,
it's personal,
except there's no punches.
Fatiguing.
100%.
It's the most personal thing you could do to lift a guy up and put him back down.
Yeah.
Individually, it's so personal.
Yeah, and I think that if more people, like you were saying, if you brought them to a wrestling match, they would have a good time.
Imagine filming their reaction.
Yeah.
And their reaction before, it's probably going to be stupid, and then reaction after, and it's completely changed. That'd be cool. We should just stage it and use you.
Yeah. I will say
that was the best thing ever. He had 2. He just knows everything.
Well, that's the thing. I would say that it took me a couple matches to understand the rules.
So do you think this is the last thing, which is the most extreme thing? I could be argued against this. Do you think it's better for wrestling, for our United States wrestling, if college and high school was freestyle? Sorry, Greco.
Greco's out.
I know, I like Thilke. I like these guys, but I'm sorry.
Yo, this is how I feel about freestyle.
Oh, go tell me, talk to me.
So, folk style is so much better than freestyle.
I like folk style better too.
It's so much better.
It's a better sport. I do. I agree. Is it better? Is it better for the United States?
Sport. Is it better? So is it better for
Team USA?
Is it better for Team USA?
That's my
It's much better
thing.
for Team USA if we did freestyle.
Correct. That's my only thing on it.
But
it's gonna be
so much better.
It's gonna be easier to change.
It's more fan friendly too.
It probably is more fan friendly. It's gonna be easier to change NCAA though from folk style to freestyle than it is to change UWW though.
Well, UWW would never change.
Correct.
I think that I think that to me, the way I always looked at it was NCAA is professional. Like, it doesn't really get, like, that's it. I get that there's the World Championships, Olympics.
Did you make a world team 1 year?
No.
I thought you did. Did you beat like Keith Gavin or someone really good?
No, the only world team I ever did was U23 world team.
Did you do a World Championships trials?
Yeah, I lost to Jaden.
Oh, in the finals or something?
Yeah,
No, okay.
Final X.
He's freaking good.
Yeah. But I feel like, so I understand that like there's very high level wrestling all around, but to me, the NCAA folk style wrestling is the most entertaining, the most watched. Like that's like the most exciting kind of thing to me. Like I get like the world.
I agree.
The World Olympics, like those guys are probably better at their sport, but the sport that America has created,
it's a good sport.
It's a better sport.
It's a good sport. I agree.
The rules make more sense. It's more of a representation of what, when you think
dominance.
Yeah. If you think about wrestling, right? Just the word and how it's defined and like what that means, like this, and folk style wrestling is more a better representation of it, of what the sport should be, in my opinion.
I like folk style more.
So I think that would be better for our results on an international stage.
That was my only argument. Right.
Our results would be better if we only did freestyle, but nowadays, man, there's a lot of people wanting to fight. And if you only do freestyle and then you try to go fight somebody, your wrestling is not at an advantage.
I actually do think, giving a little credit to Greco, translating to the cage, like clinch up against the cage, stuff like that, Greco's a really good
I would say folk style, Greco, freestyle.
Yeah, I'd agree.
For sure.
Yeah. Like being able to like throw double boots in like Gregor Gillespie.
Yeah.
That's really popular.
It's a big
Remember
deal.
him versus Yancey? He was like, he had double boots in, flatten him out.
Yeah. So I feel like,
shout out to Gregor.
if you want to, if the goal is to have better results at the Worlds and Olympics, then yeah.
If the goal is to market it better, it's probably
it's folk style is better,
right,
more marketable.
I've been swayed.
Okay, like imagine
I've been swayed.
Yeah, so imagine like to just sway you even more.
Tell me.
Imagine like, all right, you bring those 6 people or 10 people to a wrestling match, and you're like, all right, watch this, and the guy takes him down and gut wrenches the guy, or leg laces the guy 3 times.
2-2 criteria win.
Yeah, and then 2-2, and then the guy's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Versus a folk style match goes to overtime. There's takedowns. He's holding him down. Oh well, okay.
He's obviously winning.
Yeah. I think you could even say like, okay, which guy won? And then it's more obvious, right? It's like, okay, well, the guy rolled him over. They rolled around. I don't know which guy was doing what, or like, okay, this guy take this guy down. He held him down. Okay, that guy won. Right?
How do you, just because you're kind of bringing it up, how do you feel about, you guys like 3-point takedown so far?
I do.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Chill.
Yeah.
I feel like
I didn't know what to expect at the beginning.
It's more action.
Yeah.
It's exciting, and I think
It's a fast major.
It's fast.
It's a fast
Some
major.
people, and you can come back fast.
Yeah, that's true.
What's
Good
nice
point.
is like, yeah, you can get a major tech fast, but it's also
One takedown brings
you
you
might
back.
be up. So let's say an example. Let's say you're up 6-1 in the third period.
Dude, 6-4.
Two
like that.
6-4.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
6-4, 7-4, 7-7. 2 takedowns after being up 6-1. Before 2-point takedown, 6-1, 6-3, 7-3, 7-5, 8-5, 8-7. It's like 5.
Yeah.
It's such a difference, right? Like that's crazy. But I love 3-point takedown.
Yeah, and I thought I had I tweeted it at the beginning of the year, and I was wrong. I thought it would take away.
People would be more defensive.
People would be more defensive because they had more to lose, and I was scared of that.
Yeah.
But and I also thought like I thought it would make people ride longer because they didn't want to let people out in case they got taken down. So that was like a theory of mine. And I know I'm talking crap about like, oh, change the freestyle. I love leg riding. Like that's what I teach at 90% of my clinics. I love boots. Folk style like leg riding and top is so fun to me.
Yeah.
Like the same way you get like a sweet spot on a baseball bat. I feel that when I'm like flowing,
Right.
Maybe I'm out with my boots. So I love leg riding. And I thought people were gonna I don't know, I had a lot of like crazy theories like at the beginning, like what's gonna happen with 3-point takedown. I'm glad it's going well though. I will say. I'm glad it's going well.
I like that, you can, in let's say before with 2-point takedown, you could get 3 takedowns in the first period and be up 6-3.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. Now you can get 1 takedown and be up 3-0.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 takedowns. If you get 3 takedowns in the first period,
You deserve to win that period.
Pretty much. Like you deserve to be kind of way ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say this is the perfect example for the scoring. All right, 6-3. You get 3 takedowns. All right, next period, that guy chooses bottom, gets an escape, 6-4. He takes you down 6-6. 3 takedowns to 1. but it's 6-6.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, and now let's look at the other way. Okay, let's say you'd be up 9-3. All right. He gets an escape, gets a takedown, 9-4, 9-7. You're still up 2 points and you got 2 more takedowns. That makes sense. It's like it should have been a 3-point takedown all along.
For sure.
Yeah, but
For sure.
Well, I'm ready to sign, dude. So where's the petition for all of your rule changes?
let's get it going.
I thought you were talking about it like, oh, I'm going to Bellator. I thought you were about to release something. I got so excited. Like, you guys waited for me to be on this? Like, that was crazy.
Yeah, we need to figure out who makes these rules.
Kind of, just to like talk about like, so I don't forget it. Whenever I tweet these things, a lot of people that argue with me, I'm crazy on Twitter. Like I'm like really mean, and I'm like a nice person. For some reason, these people like tweeted me like, you know, Pat Mineo and Corby, and like these probably are nice people. They're nice guys. I'm just like, whatever, bitch. Like I'm just like, I'm such a jerk. And they they'll see this and they'll be like, yep. I DM Mineo. I'm like, you're a bitch one time. And like he's a nice guy. He's a nice
Just like
guy.
a normal dude.
Yeah, he's like the most normal guy ever. And I'm like, I get into it with these dads on Twitter.
Twitter's not a good way to communicate.
No, but like I like it. It's like shit talk is a love language almost. It's like, no, this is fun. Let's get after it.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to say, wrestling dads out there, there's something that happened this week. I got to tell you guys about this.
Oh yeah.
This was crazy. So, DC coaches at Gilroy.
Right.
I'm doing a clinic in Louisiana. He's from Louisiana.
Right.
Keyshawn Hayes is coaching down in Louisiana, and he goes, dude, check this Facebook post out. So I go on to Facebook. He sends it to me, and I look. So there's this tournament called the Louisiana Classic where there's no divisions, and obviously at the Louisiana State Tournament, there's a lot of divisions. This one is like a mid-season tournament. Not all the state is there, but a lot of the state is there, and they kind of look at it as like a real almost state tournament, but they've in the past always invited surrounding states.
Got it.
So it's a state tournament plus like a Texas team plus a, you know, whatever. Well, they wanted DC because he's from Louisiana. It'd be good for the sport. Let's invite him. So they bring Gilroy. Gilroy has a lot of nationally ranked kids.
They're good, yeah.
So these kids are just walking through this tournament, like just waxing everybody, right? To the point where this Louisiana state, they're like, what the hell, right? So this mom gets on there. Her son, I don't want to give her name out. She's probably a nice person, but
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. I got on there. I started. So she gets on there and she's like, her son was going for his fourth, and he lost his fourth title.
Okay. Of the tournament.
Let's keep in mind, it is a regular season tournament, right? They call it their own state tournament, but it's a regular season tournament. And they have invited out-of-state teams every single year. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
It's always been out-of-state teams.
It's not
like this is our state tournament, and this one time we invited Gilroy. That's not the case.
Right.
So she gets down there and she's like, my son lost to the number 10 kid in the country. You know, it was a close match. It was like 5-3, 5-4. This is BS. This is bad for the wrestling. And I got there and I was just like, very nicely, I was like, well, I wasn't nice, but I was like.
Very nicely calm. I said, go to hell.
But I was like, what's better for your son? You getting the trophy and the accolade of having the fourth title, or you wrestling somebody that probably made you wrestling the number 10 kid in the country? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I know the accolade and the trophy.
Like, I would have rather had him.
No, she did. They all came on there and said, this tournament's not about getting better. This is about winning. That's what she said to me.
Wow.
I didn't know what to say. DC got on there and he started chirping, right? It became really crazy where I was going into crazy like explanations like, listen, here's what's important. Here's what you need to value. And I'm trying to like TED talk them and it's just not getting through. Like, no, winning matters. This kid's dad fought in the UFC. He gets on there and he starts chirping. I thought he'd at least get it, but he's like he's Strikeforce UFC where it's like, no, man, winners win. Winners get their hand raised. It's like, no, dude. That's not the point of wrestling. The point of wrestling is the most important thing is to compete.
Yeah.
Then winning is more important. But if you're willing to compete, winning will happen. If you're only willing to win, sometimes when it gets really hard, winning doesn't happen, right? Like, I want you to like get better at wrestling. Like, what matters to you? Wrestling this kid's number 10 or winning this tournament? So I go to Louisiana the following week and I do a clinic.
Right. Tell me he's there.
Even worse.
Even worse.
The clinic I was doing it at was legal. It was allowed. According to Louisiana state regulations, you have to promote the clinic and open it to anybody during season. Well, this mom and dad called the state.
Oh my god!
And tried to penalize and keep the kids out of the state tournament because they had me in there for a thing.
Oh my god!
Wow!
What?
So this is what I want to say to wrestling dads out there.
That's so messed up.
if you are a state tournament that does not, or sorry, if you're a state that has wrestling that does not allow kids to go to other clubs in the summer, like, no, this is for us, close, pray. You're shooting yourself in the foot, right? You're shooting, like, Ohio is oversaturated with clubs. PA, Jersey is oversaturated with clubs. Texas is okay.
We just more go for like the heavy hitters at the top.
You guys
like,
have
we're
good,
not trying to be overall average.
You guys
We're trying to be like
you guys
me,
have some names.
Brandon
like,
Slade,
remember,
AJ Ferrari.
remember Oliver Pierce? He
Oliver's
was
my guy.
cold.
That's my dude.
He was cold.
Yeah.
So like, there's all like, if how can I put this the best way? Okay, if I'm a 7, if I'm a high school kid and I'm a 7,
You're like a 7. Let's be honest.
all right, thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, if I'm a team, that's what I'm saying. If I'm a high school and I'm a 7, right? And you're a 6.5, your team is. Not you, but your team is. You're a 6.5. Fucking.
He's like,
if my team's a 7 out of 10 and you're a 6.5 out of 10, and let's just say, you know, we have more resources than you, right? There is a little bit of meritocracy that happens, right? Unfortunately, meritocracy meaning like, you know, I get all the good resources. You don't have access to it, like affirmative action type of, you know, you don't have all the best resources, and we get thrown into the same test. There is going to be an advantage I have. I get that does exist in life. I get it. But let's just go with this. If you're a 6.5 and I'm a 7, and you allow alumni from my school to come back and work with kids, which Louisiana does not allow that, which is a crazy thing because they want to try and keep it equal, right? If you allow alumni to come back, and is that going to make me the best ever? No, but it might make me do a 7.5.
right.
What does that do to you? That forces you to figure out ways to get better,
Level up.
which overall grows the state.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to feel better about yourself and, okay, you keep me at a 7, hey, we don't let alumni come back. We don't let clinicians come in. We close our doors. We don't let new people come train with us. I might stay a 7, maybe I go to a 7.2, but you don't have the fire or the sense of urgency because you might beat us still.
Right.
So it might be better for your trophy case, but it's not better for the state overall.
Right.
So I just hope dads and coaches at these high school levels care more about competing than they care about winning. It pisses me off. It makes me very upset. Be better at wrestling.
What it comes down to make an analogy, is like, do you want a big piece of a teeny tiny little pie, or do you want a small piece of a really
Oh,
big
yeah, that's
pie?
great.
It's like,
Fuck.
you know,
That's good.
like that's all they're doing, is they want to keep the pie tiny and take as much of it as they can.
Right.
When in reality, if you just made the pie bigger, and yeah, your ratio smaller, you still get a bigger piece. But people don't really understand.
But you're better at wrestling for it.
Exactly.
I'm better at wrestling.
Exactly.
If you're my best competition,
Like overall,
and you get really good,
yeah.
I'm gonna be better.
Overall, your slice is bigger.
Like, have you guys ever hoped? Have you guys ever hoped your opponent? Like, this is bad thoughts, but like just having these bad thoughts when you're young. Have you ever hoped your opponent was less because you'd have a better chance to win?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
bad wrestling.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like I always give this analogy. This is so fun. Like, okay, me and Tony. Did you go by Anthony or Tony mostly?
Whatever you want.
Antoine. So,
Zach's the only one that
Tony
calls me
Sharp over here. How you doing? So Tony and me have to wrestle an open tournament, and you know it's one of those Fargo tournaments. Maybe it's an open tournament, you know, in junior high, and the announcer comes on the PA and goes, "Tony versus Johnny, Matt 1." Tony shows up, singlet on, anklets on, headgear ready, and we got rid of the headgear. That's gone, right? Shakes hands. Or no, I'm sorry. He's walking around. He looks around. Johnny is not there yet. What happens? Announcer goes, "Hey, second call, Johnny, Matt 1." Johnny doesn't come. What's the third call say? Third and final call. We've all heard this, right?
Right.
Be realistic. What do most kids think is happening?
They're gonna get a forfeit.
And when we think we're gonna get a forfeit, what do we get? We get excited.
You're like, oh, nice, I'm gonna win.
We want to win so bad, some of us, that we don't want to compete at all. And that's a really big problem to have.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you should not be excited that, you know, oh, that guy might not be at 100%. He's having a bad weight cut. Yes.
Right.
Like, you should, even if it means you lose. I care about winning so much that I want to be I might lose this match. I don't want to care about winning so much that I have the easiest route to win.
Right.
I want to care about winning so much that I might lose. Like, oh, if a genie came out, you know, Will Smith, little Aladdin, right, comes out of the bottle and is like, "Hey, Johnny, if Tony has a bad weight cut and he's 80% of his best, you'll beat him. But if he has a perfect weight cut and he feels his best, right now he's better than you, he'll win." I should hope I wrestle your best, even if it means I lose, because I care about wrestling and competing more.
Definitely.
Did I think about that in college? No, Jay Jaggers, I didn't. I know you're going to make fun of this. I didn't think about that in college. Now I do. As a coach, I do. So, right, like, I want kids to think about that, and I want dads to think about, like, hey, that matters more than winning. Does winning matter? Yes. But if you want to win, if you want good things to happen, you got to be willing to fight and compete. You know? So I'm kind of filibustering. I apologize.
No,
I get freaking fired up about this.
No, I think that's in every sport, though. Like,
No, it's not. It's just us. We're better. No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's across all 100%.
100%.
Like, you'd have to change everything and change.
It's really just the human condition.
Right, we want to win, and I get
Yeah.
it. Right, everything is like, you guys know what Dunning-Kruger effect is? Oh, it's my favorite, dog. This is my favorite. So, like, how many times have you ever seen something that looks easy and you start doing it and it's, wow, this is harder than I thought? Right? Like, I feel like we have this
pretty much comes
everything.
easy.
So it starts
No,
it starts as uninformed optimism. So it's like, oh, I can wakeboard. That's easy. I'm never gonna tube again. Right? Then you start doing it.
Actually got up my first try.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
Say swear to God.
On wakeboard?
Really?
Yeah, actually.
That's crazy. I got to think of something better. I don't know. Something like
trying to think
right?
of something.
How many people talk about with like fighting? Like,
something lame.
dude, just hit him. Dude, just get up off the mat.
Bryce was arguing me about this for a long time, actually. We got a big fight about
What?
this.
About what?
I had never fought before, and I was like, bro, I'm pretty sure I could beat a top 10 guy in the UFC.
And I know when Bryce argues,
And then-
he gets so mad.
He got so mad. And then I was like, I still feel confident that I know now I would, but I felt like at that point, I still agree with
You could have
myself.
back then?
I still think so,
That's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Have you fought yet when you said that, or no?
No, I never fought. Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
But anyways, most people have a Dunning-Kruger effect where it's uninformed optimism. I could do that. Followed by, oh, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. And then most people go back to comfort from there. They go back to they go back to tubing, whatever it is that makes it comfortable. And then all of a sudden, if you stay there long enough, you get a little foul tip. You stand up on the wakeboard for a second, and you're like, oh, I can do this, right? So I think a lot of people have it towards like social media. It's like, psh, this person just got famous for shaking their ass. How that could be easy. I could do that. Oh, hate comments? Psh, I could deal with those. But then you start like seeing, and you're like, oh, there is a lot more to this that I didn't realize. Like that's usually most things.
Right.
So I think that biasly for wrestling, we have that. We think our sport is harder than everything. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's some hard football workouts in high school. And, I don't want to act like everything is just easy workout-wise because I've wrestled. Now, am I biased and want to believe that? Of course I do. But I want to give – I think we should not hate basketball the way wrestlers hate basketball. That's
for sure.
what I mean?
I feel like
that's what's cool. It's like whatever.
I never understood that mindset.
The hate.
Yeah,
It's weird.
because these other sports are doing things really well.
Oh my gosh.
And so many millions of people
Steph
want to
Curry
watch
is so
them.
fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's
I don't get that. Or like, but that really does encompass kind of everything you're saying of the scarcity mindset and feeling like, not catering to the masses, like trying to it's just really trying to like shrink down, right? And that's that mentality of like, again, just wanting to control everything versus, if you just open it up, relax a little bit and kind of view it from 30,000 feet, we should be looking at basketball, football, these big sports and seeing how they're doing things, how they're promoting, because more people watch that than anything.
Oh,
like why do we not?
They're so good.
Yeah, why do we not?
The marketability is so good on
yeah.
this. And they do a good job of allowing people to be superstars.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like LeBron is like able to be a superstar. I don't think baseball does a good enough job though. I don't think they allow baseball players to be like Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. They could be giants,
Right.
But you're always gonna see, like Brock Purdy is probably like less of a football player than Bryce Harper is a baseball player. Like if you could rate their skill, Brock Purdy's good. I'm not like Brock Purdy hate, right? But why is he so much bigger? Is because the NFL is bigger? I don't think baseball does a good job of individual superstars.
Well, I was going to say about wrestling is that like there's nothing. Well, now there is with NIL because right. College is your biggest market.
How do you like the NIL? You like it?
I think it's a great idea. I think
It's
that
a good
it
idea,
really
yeah.
only matters for
A few kids.
a top 20 individuals in the nation.
It's tough
Not
with
even that, I don't think.
It's
Yeah.
tough with it being at the same time of the transfer portal. Because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's like, does Ohio State, does Penn State have unlimited scholarships? Whereas Lockhaven might only have like 4.9. You know what I mean? That's the other side of that coin. But I want kids to get paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get paid, get your money.
No, I agree. But from the marketability aspect of it, like the NBA hypes up Steph Curry. Like the NFL hypes up Patrick Mahomes.
Spend money on
Yeah, they spend money
Spend
on
money.
them individually. Like
Yeah.
before I actually like knew these guys, I couldn't name you a single collegiate wrestler.
Yeah.
Like because I've never seen it before.
Right.
So like I think that that's also like a huge problem is that like the NCAA like doesn't promote.
Let them
the
be
individual
giants.
people. Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, and I think that
Let's
that's
take
wrestling.
over.
Let's do it.
Do you want the four of us? Should we do it?
Let's
yeah.
do it.
No.
I'll handle the production.
That's wrestling culture. It's like, after the win, don't celebrate.
Oh my gosh.
Now you're just talking about
Don't get me started. Did you see the thing the other day?
Yeah.
I was going at people, bro.
Bro, that's the thing. It's like, why?
Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
He walked 2 feet on the mat.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why I wrestled.
right.
For that 3 seconds.
We have people.
Tony wrestled for 2 reasons: to selly and to wear the singlet.
We had people.
You're trying to take one of them away from me.
and people at the shore to recognize you. You gotta know you're at the shore. Yo, we have people storming basketball courts. We have football teams. We have people
Ripping down the goalpost.
right at home runs. The entire team is smashing the dude in the head when he hits a home run.
Yeah.
It's like allow excitement.
Yeah.
Wrestling's so hard, and at times it sucks. Why don't we in such a sport where you can't be that creative? You don't get to have all the different like things and wear this and do that. Like, let us have our creativity when we can. We have such few moments we can have.
And I
creativity.
think too, it's like that shouldn't be left up. It shouldn't be an overall culture where this is the standard for every team. I think that it's good to have a team that doesn't celebrate.
It's good to have your Iowa.
It's good to have
Be
Iowa,
Iowa.
the New England
For sure.
Patriots.
Be
right? Like,
Iowa.
you look
That's
at-
good.
Yeah, like it's good to have that, but it's also good to have the team that's like super flamboyant, like in your
I
face.
love it.
Like
I love
you
it.
gotta, but I feel
I
like
love it.
if when you have too much of the same, it's
robots.
It's not entertaining.
No, I agree.
Because then you get the flamboyant team, they face off against the robot team, and it's like, whoa,
That's
that's
cool.
exciting.
It's
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
That's why it was like
It's like you and
fun.
Hamzat.
Yeah, yeah,
It's gonna be
exactly.
sick. You're like,
Yeah.
you're you, and
Right.
Hamzat is him.
Right.
It's gonna be sick
He's
when
like
you guys fight.
Yeah, for sure, man. I can't wait for that.
I can't wait either. I can't wait either. Oh, I haven't seen you since you announced. Wait, have you announced anything?
yeah.
That's what.
His baby.
Yes. Okay. I got so scared. Congrats, man.
Thanks, bro.
Much
Appreciate
love.
you. Thank you.
I got scared for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah. It's official.
I'm gonna go at better.
baby.
Now. I'm gonna go at better.
Go at him.
Better. I love you guys. This isn't at you. This is at betting people in general, and I see it on the better comments. I think it's distasteful to say, I don't like when people dehumanize athletes, and you do a good job of not caring about this. Jake Paul does a great job of not caring about this, right? But there's other people who don't. And like as a fan of sports, I think it's distasteful when people do this. Hey, good luck tonight. I got money on you. Is that why you're wishing me good luck? Because
That is
is
so-
that
it
the
is
only
weird to
reason?
hear
It's
that.
weird.
Yeah.
Like they used to say that at Ohio State, like, yo, kick ass tonight, I'm showing up. I'm gonna try and kick ass whether
Yeah.
you show up or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in my head, like, do they mean well? Of course they do. And this is me being annoying, right? I get it. I'm being
your
a
best
Karen.
to yourself.
I'm being a Karen. It's not keep your best to yourself either, but it's like, you're not looking at me like a human being.
Yeah.
It's like, tell me you want me to win because you support me.
Yeah.
And if I make you money, that's sick, right? And if I lose you money, don't comment on my Instagram, I hope you kill yourself. It's the craziest.
You lost me $5 in my parlay.
I know. It's like, I'm sorry that your $30 parlay didn't win. No, I don't want, like,
Yo.
Derek and John Jones is
That's
the
the best.
craziest thing ever.
Hey
can't believe
man,
he did that.
mad respect to you, John. Just want to let you know I got money on Cyril. Like what? That was a great clip though.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake is the best at garnering interest and make people have an opinion.
Right.
And Derek has done such a good job of that.
Derek's good
He's a
too.
killer at it.
Yeah.
But people who aren't doing it for content. So like Derek will get a pass because I get it.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job.
Right.
People who aren't doing it for content that literally just come up to you out of the blue and be
Nah.
like, yo, bro, good luck. I got money on you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to try and win even if you put money on the other guy.
For sure.
Like no matter what. So
Yeah.
don't make me like less of a, like one person told Jamal Murray, I don't know if you guys saw this clip. Jamal Murray
I
was like,
did.
by the, remember he was
Yeah.
like, suck my, did it. It was like, your girl was doing this. And it's like, you think just because there's like a whole psychological phenomenon that happens where if J.R. Smith talks about this, if we see people on TV shows, people in movies, people in sporting events so often,
Right.
we develop a relationship with them.
Yeah. And
Right?
They don't have it.
So
with-
now I think I know Matthew McConaughey. I think I know Jennifer Lawrence. So when I see him, it's, hey, dude.
How much Jennifer Lawrence you watch?
I'm trying to be relatable.
I see her every day.
I'm trying to be relatable. So J.R. Smith was talking about that, like people were touching him when he was at a parade one time.
Oh.
And like grabbing him. It's like, yo, JR, big fan.
man?
It's like, yeah. And it's like, you know me, but I don't know you yet. So please respect that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people will see these people and they'll say the craziest, most out of pocket thing they
Oh
can
my
say.
gosh, bro.
And it's like, you would not say that to your grandma. You would not say that to a stranger on the street, but because they're famous, you think it's okay to say it to them. And it drives me nuts.
Wild.
It's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah, you learn to just kind of like take it with a grain of salt because it's easier to understand where somebody's at than try to get them to where you're at. It's easier to just be like, all right, you're not really going to get to where I'm at, so I'm just going to try to level with you for a quarter second and move on.
What's your craziest fan DM?
Oh,
I've got some like kill yourself ones for base jumping, but you are different. Like I'm not famous, right? You're
I don't look at DMs really like that. So
he's had to have had some.
I'm
crazy
sure.
I'm sure you guys have got crazy people say stuff. Like, what have you heard?
I don't know.
You should
I'll have a good story, but this wasn't a DM. So and you'll appreciate this one.
All right, good. I'm like,
I gotta head out because I have to go eat.
All right, we'll head out after this. But
I'm starving. Right now. I'm not getting lightheaded.
So we were at a camp in Georgia.
Where at?
I don't remember.
I just did one in Valdosta.
It's a Penn State camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do it every summer, and this was right
I'll
after.
go and teach whatever you guys messed up on.
There you go. Right after the Nationals my freshman year. So, and it's a bunch of like sweetheart kids. They're all like Georgia kids, Southern kids. They're all nice. And so we're going through, and the session's about to end. And mind you, there's probably like, I don't know, 300, 400 kids at this camp. It's a big camp. And like all the coaches are there, Penn State coaches, everybody. And this kid comes up to me, and he's got to be 13, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And he looks at me, and I see a group. There's like 15 kids behind him, and they're all like watching him. And I'm like, oh, frick, here we go. And so this was right after my freshman year. So
you had just lost.
I had just lost. And he goes, hey, man, you know who my favorite wrestler is? And I was like, oh, who? I thought he was going to say me. I was like, oh, that's nice, the sweet little hard kid. And he goes, Miles Martin. And I was like, okay. And I just like...
But people listening to this think that's like okay.
And then all
like,
his
cares?
friends...
Laugh it off.
And he was...
Shut up.
And he kind of saw how he was a young kid, so he kind of saw how... He was like, didn't know what to expect, and he was just looking at me, and I was just like... And I just left, and like straight face, and I just like kept walking like he wasn't even there. And he was like... Didn't know what to do. And
Bo Nickal's a jerk.
No, not even, dude. He felt like terrible. Like all his friends were like laughing, and he I think like actually didn't know what he was doing, but his friends were the bad ones. They egged him on. And so then after the next session, the coach found out, and he made them all come up to me and like apologize and stuff. And they were like, "I'm so sorry, this, that, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "It's all right, buddy. Don't worry about it."
Right. Yeah. You handle it well.
Yeah.
But that's good.
But it was just like. Oh man, these people.
I know where you sleep tonight.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm like,
sorry, we're going live later.
I'm like, thanks for bringing up like probably the most heartbreaking moment of my life,
the darkest time of my
like
life.
A month ago.
I just got out of therapy for it.
Appreciate it, bro. Yeah, nice.
Like I got told this. Like there's one. A lot of comments will say stuff like, "Oh, he's gonna die one day," and those are like, okay,
that's crazy.
Yeah, whatever. Right, but there's one that was like that stands out. He's an apathetic jerk, void of human emotion, who needs to jump off something to feel a tad something. What a selfish piece of shit.
Wow.
And I was like, I replied, and I was like, this is a 15-second video. And you just summed up, and at the time I was probably like 28, 29, you just summed up 30 years of my life in 15 seconds. And called me. You have no idea if I do charity, if I work with kids. You have no idea if I am a jerk. You have no idea. It's like people in comments see something and they say whatever, thinking it will harm nobody. It is the craziest thing.
It's not a real person on the other end of it.
Yes, it's like, oh, it's not a real person, and especially if it's a celebrity. If it's, you would not comment on, some random person who has 1,000 followers Instagram. You look fat,
right? Because
they will see it. But you think you could say you look fat because you'll be hidden in the crowd of 10,000 comments. It's like, no, people see things. It's like, you know what I mean? Be a good human. Stop being a fucking loser. All right, sorry. He's got to eat.
All right. Appreciate you coming on, Johnny.
Dude, this is freaking, I could talk all day. This is fun. I'm getting into it. This is just part one.
Part one. Let's go. Run it
Download Betr. Watch Bo Nickal kick ass. Watch this guy kick ass in March, right? Did we announce that yet? March? Cool. Yeah. And then this guy's behind the scenes, dadding it up.
All righty. That's it.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate y'all.